So, ECG is a electrocardiography, a device which includes the parts named to be the waves to the intervals, next the segments and the complexes is what the include the parts. First of all, we'll see the waves. However, they are all what integral part of it. So it includes the P wave. This is the P wave is a straight positive curve line P wave, whereas Q wave is a positive the line, whereas R wave is a negative line and S wave is a positive line. So this is what the QRS is together what named to be the QRS complex. P wave, Q wave, R wave, S wave, T wave, in which QRS together what named to be the QRS complex. So in this connection, first of all we'll discuss the P wave. Already we discussed that electrocardiography is a device which is used to measure the electrical activity of the heart, functioning of the heart. By using in a standard ECG, 3 electrodes are used, keeping the 2 electrodes to the wrist and 1 to the ankle. Whereas in a detailed electrocardiograph, there are several number of the electrodes are used to the chest region and the other parts. So here now we'll discuss the standard ECG, which includes the waves. P wave refers to the atrial depolarization, which means the atriolar systole. P wave refers to atriolar depolarization, or else it is the atrial systole. That is the sending of the action potential from SAN to the atrial walls is results in atrial contraction, that is atrial depolarization, which is the P wave. Next, QRS complex refers to ventricular depolarization, that is, it includes the sending of action potential from SAN to AVN to bundle of his, which is his bundle, bifurcated through the minute fibers named to be the Purkinje fibers to the walls of the ventricle. So conduction of the electrical action potential from SAN to AVN to the bundle of his to Purkinje fibers to the walls of the ventricle, what refers to QRS complex, that results in ventricular depolarization. The third one is named to be the T wave. T wave refers to ventricular repolarization. Be careful. Recent held 2019 examination. As I already told you, one question came from the cardiac output. That is identifying the number of the beats of a person whose cardiac output is 5000 milliliter and the volume of the blood after the diastole and after the systole. Calculate the amount of the number of the beats per minute. That was the one question. And second question also came from the ECG. That is P wave, QRS complex, T wave. What asked in the match the following. So be careful. Each and every corner you have to concentrate. So P wave refers to atrial depolarization. Depolarization means disturbing the already existing the polarity, which means they are in a relaxed condition which is made to the contraction. That is what atrial depolarization. It is because of the action potential generated by sand that causes the contraction of two atria, which is the atrial depolarization. So P wave indicates atrial depolarization. QRS complex is the combination of the Q wave, R wave and S wave, which is a QRS complex. It is indicating the ventricular depolarization, means ventricular contraction, means it indicates the conduction of the action potential from SAN to AVN, AVN to bundle of his into Purkinje fiber to the walls of the ventricle. That is what QRS complex, ventricular depolarization. T wave refers to ventricular repolarization. One point to remember, this generates T wave indicates that the potential difference, the action potential recovered after the T wave indicates the recovery of the action potential after the ventricular depolarization. T wave indicates the recovery after the ventricular depolarization, which means the end of the T wave indicates, end of T wave indicates end of systole. Very, very important, and you have a chance of confusion regarding this statement. End of T wave indicates end of systole. What I mean to say is T wave refers to the recovery of the ventricular depolarization. Recovery of the ventricular depolarization means the whatever the state which is after the end of the systole. That's what end of the T wave indicates, end of systole. After systole it is nothing but repolarization. So end of the T wave indicates the end of the systole. This is what generally we see. Besides that, PR interval, that is the onset of P wave and onset of R wave is PR interval. QT interval, onset of the Q wave and the end of the T wave. Besides that, the ST segment, these are also we see. And RR interval signifies the RR interval signifies cardiac cycle. What do you mean by cardiac cycle? It is what completed in a 0.8 seconds. In fact, these are all what normal standard ECG is all what refer to. Generally, every waves and complexes are with the certain values, and any abnormality what shows in the electrocardiogram, the record of the ECG is electrocardiogram. If any abnormality is there, that will indicate, that will reflected on electrocardiogram, and that gives the abnormality of the functioning of the heart. It may be the blockages in the blood vessels, it may be damaged of the heart valves, and now we see the clinical inferences in this regard. Right. First of all, the enlarged P wave, some of the clinical inferences will see enlarged P wave. Enlarged P wave is nothing but the enlarged atria. That is, there is a change in the atria volume, or else it is position, the enlarged atria is an abnormality that can be indicated in the ECG as an enlarged P wave. Next, the QRS complex, abnormality in the QRS complex. How does it is shown? The amplitude, the duration, the duration of the QRS complex. Any abnormality shows the bundle block is what we see. An abnormality in the bundle of his is named to be the bundle block. Why? There is a change in the amplitude, duration of and morphology of the QRS complex. This is the normal morphology of the QRS complex. Any change in its morphology, amplitude and duration, what said to be the bundle block, which means the action potential may be delay from the AVN to bundle of his, if blocked, it may not reach the ventricles via the walls of the ventricles via the Purkinje fibers. That is a notation of QRS complex. So, the enlarged P wave we have discussed. Then abnormality in the QRS complex we have discussed. Now, the PR interval. If the PR interval, if it is prolonged, there are two conditions we see. Either it is the prolonged or else it is the shortened. So, in the beginning we have discussed what is the standard ECG and what are the components of it. Now the abnormalities, the clinical inferences. Prolonged PR interval, which means there is a more duration in the PR interval. Prolonged PR interval indicates the bradycardia, low beating of the heart. In the beginning we have discussed, as the gap is more, so the slow beating of the heart, and the shortened PR interval indicates the tachycardia. Prolonged PR interval results in bradycardia and shortened PR interval results in tachycardia. Next, the QT interval. Also we see the prolonged and shortened, Prolonged QT interval results in a condition named to be the myocardial infarction, and hypothyroidism, and shortened interval, QT interval results in hypercalcemia. So, let us see this. So, as the gap is more, as the duration is more, so it is in a prolonged state. So, prolonged PR interval results in a bradycardia. As there is a more delay, indicates slow beating. That's what bradycardia. Whereas the PR interval shortened indicates the tachycardia. It is an abnormality. And the QT interval, prolonged QT interval results in a myocardial infarction, MI. In general, myocardial infarction, in the sense it is the localized death of the tissues. It may lead to the cardiac arrest. How? Let's see. As the interval is more, so low beating of the heart. In the same manner, we find the low flow of the blood and low oxygen supply. First of all, before myocardial infarction, we see a condition called the low supply of oxygen to the cardiac muscle. Low oxygen supply to the cardiac muscles. As for a prolonged period, the oxygen supply reduces. As for a prolonged period, the oxygen supply decreases. It leads to the death of the tissues, and finally it will results in the necrosis or localized death of the tissues. It is named to be the myocardial infarction. At the same time, the body activities are low. That's what hypothyroidism. Thyroxine is a hormone which is responsible for increasing the metabolic rate, but here the beating is low, nothing but activity is less, nothing but hypothyroidism. In the same manner, shortened QT interval results in hypercalcemia. And besides that, one more also seen, the elevated ST segment. Elevated ST segment also results in myocardial infarction. Elevated ST segment also results in myocardial infarction. Generally, the blood needs to be continuously supplied to the tissues. That is, from the heart to the different parts. Even remind you one thing, the blood is also need to be supplied to the heart walls. And from heart walls also blood need to be pumped back into the atrium, which is very, very important. Why? Heart is also an integral part of the body. It needs the blood supply. But there are certain times the blocks are takes place. Certain times the blood continuously do not flow. And this may lead to low oxygen supply to the particularly the cardiac muscles. It leads to the damage of the tissues and finally results in myocardial infarction. Next, elevated ST segment also results in myocardial infarction. And the tall T wave, this is the T wave. T wave we have discussed. T wave is nothing but the ventricular repolarization. I told you that it is the recovery after the ventricular depolarization, which means the end of the T wave indicates the end of the systole. If the T wave may be tall T wave indicates the hyperkalemia, and the small, short, flattened and inverted, short, flat and inverted T wave indicates the hypokalemia. Generally, the kalium refers to potassium. Potassium are very, very important ions for cardiac fluid and functioning of the heart. So, hyper means elevated the potassium levels is hyperkalemia, which is denoted in a tall T wave. In fact, it is what is called a dome shaped. But if it is a tall, this is indicating the hyperkalemia. If it is short, small, inverted and flattened, which means normal, the T wave is this, which is the dome shaped. But if it is the tall, if it is short, if it is flattened and if it is inverted, these are all what abnormalities. The tall T wave indicates the hyperkalemia. Short, flattened and inverted T wave indicates the hypokalemia. So, these are all the details summarizing the electrical activity of the heart. Standard ECG and detailed ECG. We are discussing the standard ECG. Electrocardiography is the device which records the electrical activity of the heart. Name it to be the electrocardiogram. Vinna is a scientist who first discovered this ECG. Vinna, for which he was awarded with the Nobel Prize and is considered to be the father of electrocardiogram. A standard ECG we have seen in a hospital. You might have noticed that in a television picture show, you might have observed that a person whose electrical activity of the heart reflected on the television picture, which may be like a pip, 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 pee like. This sounds indicates that the person is about to be facing the cardiac arrest. In general, this ECG standard ECG where 3 electrodes are used, arranged to the wrist and each wrist is with the 1 electrode and 1 to the ankle, whereas several number of the electrodes. This ECG include the waves, intervals, segments and complexes, the P wave, Q wave or PQRST are the what is called the randomly, arbitrarily taken. It is arbitrarily taken terms, but it does not signify any meaning. PQRS or PQRST or the letters taken in the ECG, which is arbitrarily taken. It does not signify any meaning or else the function. Where the P wave is for electrical, the depolarization of the atria. QRS complex is the ventricular depolarization, and the T wave for ventricular repolarization. The abnormality where we see the enlarged P wave, the enlarged atria, and the blocks in the bundle of His results in bundle block, which shows abnormality in the conduction of the impulses or else the action potential from sand to the walls of the ventricle. Then the PR interval if prolonged, bradycardia, shortened PR interval tachycardia, prolonged QT interval myocardial infarction and hypothyroidism, and shortened QT interval hypercalcemia, and elevated ST segment myocardial infarction, tall T wave hyperkalemia, short flat, and the inverted is hypokalemia. This is all the summary about the ECG. Double circulation is now we'll go for it. Complete double circulation exhibited by the aves and the mammals. Complete double circulation involves the 2 types of circulation. One is named to be the systemic circulation, and the another is said to be the pulmonary circulation. So, the case with the mammals, in human beings, complete double circulation is seen. That is, twice the blood enters into the heart. That is, oxygenated blood from lungs to the heart, and from left atrium, the oxygenated blood from lungs to the left atrium to left ventricle to via the aorta. Aorta is considered to be the largest blood vessel. This is the important to see. Largest blood vessel is none other than the aorta. Left systemic aortic arch, which is moved forward and forms ascending, next arched and descending aorta. By different branches it opens into the different parts and supplies the oxygenated blood to the different parts. So via the aorta, the oxygenated blood supplied to the different parts. From different parts, the deoxygenated blood brought into the via the vena cava into the heart. So lungs to heart, the oxygenated blood from different parts, the deoxygenated blood to the lungs is what name it to be the pulmonary circulation. I repeat, the two types of the circulations are seen: systemic circulation and pulmonary circulation. Systemic circulation in the sense the oxygenated blood from heart via the aorta different parts, and the deoxygenated blood from different parts into the heart is systemic circulation. Right? The left systemic aortic arch, which is originated in the left ventricle, runs forward and it becomes a aorta, from which the ascending aorta, arched aorta, and descending aorta, that is which is the largest blood vessel, by which with different branches it pump the oxygenated blood to the different parts. So the oxygenated blood from left atrium to left ventricle via the left systemic aortic arch into different organs is the oxygenated blood supplied. From the different parts, the deoxygenated blood brought via the vena cava into the right atrium is systemic circulation, whereas deoxygenated blood from flowing from right atrium to right ventricle to the pulmonary aortic arch, right ventricle to pulmonary aortic arch, pulmonary aortic arch, right ventricle, pulmonary aortic arch, it reaches the lungs, where it is bifurcated into two branches. So right ventricle, deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle, pulmonary aortic arch to the lungs, from lungs, oxygenated blood via the pulmonary veins into the left atrium, heart to lungs, lungs to the heart is the pulmonary circulation, heart to different parts oxygenated blood, and from different parts of deoxygenated blood back to the heart is the systemic circulation. So in a heart, which is a pumping organ from different parts, look at here, this is the different organs, same earlier we have seen the case with the two types of the gases exchange, systemic gases exchange, pulmonary gas exchange. From different parts, the deoxygenated blood carried to the right atrium via the vena cava system, nothing but two precaval and one postcaval vein, two precaval from anterior part of the body, one postcaval vein from the posterior parts of the body. Deoxygenated blood carried by vena cava into the right atrium. From right atrium, the blood pumped into the right ventricle. From right ventricle, the blood is pumped into the lungs. The blood is pumped into the lungs. Right ventricle to lungs via the pulmonary aortic arch. From lungs, the oxygenated blood pumped into from the lungs, the oxygenated blood, O2 blood pumped into left atrium. From left atrium, the blood pumped into left ventricle. From left ventricle, the oxygenated blood pumped to different parts by means of the systemic arteries. That is nothing but the dorsal aorta, which is the largest blood vessel. By its branches, it pumps the oxygenated blood to different parts. So different parts to heart, deoxygenated blood. From heart to different parts, oxygenated blood is the systemic circulation. Whereas from heart to lungs, deoxygenated blood via the pulmonary trunk, pulmonary aortic arch, and from lungs through pulmonary veins into the left atrium. The oxygenated blood is a pulmonary circulation. Here the point to remember, twice the blood is completely reaching. That's what it is named to be the complete double circulation. And in this connection, we have to see what are the advantages of the complete double circulation. That is, the blood mixing is avoided as the ventricles are completely separated. The blood mixing is avoided, that is, right side of the heart deoxygenated blood, left side of the heart oxygenated blood is oxygenated, and deoxygenated blood are separately pumped, efficiently pumped. This is and it checks the blood circulation of the systemic and pulmonary. This is the advantage of the complete double circulation. Here the point to remember, that is the right atrium, which collect the deoxygenated blood from two precaval, one postcaval vein. Once reaches the right atrium through right atrioventricular aperture, which is guarded by the bicuspid tricuspid valve pumped into the right ventricle, where pulmonary trunk, pulmonary aortic arch pump the deoxygenated blood into the lungs, which is deoxygenated from lungs, from each lung two pulmonary veins. Keep in mind, two lungs, two pairs of the pulmonary veins bring about the oxygenated blood into the left atrium to left ventricle. From left ventricle, left systemic aortic arch pumps the oxygenated blood to different parts. This is how twice complete double circulation what takes place in the case of the human beings, which is systemic and pulmonary circulation. So, the complete double circulation advantages is that it checks the circulation and it efficiently pumps. It does not allow the mixing of the blood. Besides complete double circulation, we also discuss the circulation from other sources, circulation from other circulation from special organs. Besides complete double circulation, we do also discuss the other circulation, which includes the coronary circulation, and the hepatic portal circulation, and hypophyseal circulation. So, besides the double circulation, the other circulations from special organs also we focus. That includes coronary circulation. Coronary refer to the heart, which means the blood circulation from heart and to the heart. Then what do you mean by this? It means there are two coronary arteries and coronary veins. These are the blood vessels that are carrying the oxygenated blood to the walls of the heart, particularly the myocardium, cardiac muscles, is named to be the coronary arteries. That is, from the left systemic aortic arch, a pair of the arteries pump the oxygenated blood to the walls of the heart by means of coronary arteries. In the same manner, from the walls of the heart, deoxygenated blood is collected by coronary veins. Artery is pumping the blood to different parts from heart is an artery. Vein is the blood vessel which collect the blood from different parts to the heart is a vein. So coronary artery supplies the oxygenated blood to the wall of the heart. Coronary veins collect the deoxygenated blood from the walls of the heart. So in this connection, already we discussed that the coronary veins are all joined together, form a coronary sinuses which open into the right atrium, and this opening guarded by valve of Thebatius. Right? So that is coronary circulation. That is from the heart to the different parts, from different parts to the heart is a circulation. The heart itself supplies the blood to its body, its parts, nothing but the wall of the heart. That is by coronary artery, and collect the blood from its wall via the coronary vein. These two together what name it to be the coronary circulation. Next, hepatic portal circulation. Generally the portal vein, before going for this we have to learn the portal vein. A portal vein is a vein which starts with the blood capillary in one organ and ends with the blood capillary in another organ. In fact, the blood from gut directly do not reaches the heart directly, but done by means of hepatic circulation. So a portal vein is a vein which starts with the blood capillaries in one organ and ends with the blood capillaries in another organ is named to be the portal vein. There are two types of the portal veins we discuss. Portal veins are the portal vein, the system that has the portal vein is the portal system, which means in portal system we see the blood capillary start with the blood vessel carry with the vein start with the blood capillary in one organ and ends with the blood capillary in another organ. So that is a portal vein. Such system is the portal system, and such portal system are of two types: hepatic portal system, portal system, and renal portal system. In the case of human beings and cyclostomes, the renal portal system is absent. In the case of human beings, that is in mammals, all the mammals are without a renal portal system. So there won't raise a question of discussing the renal portal system. No, and so now we'll go for the hepatic portal system. Hepatic portal system includes the hepatic portal vein. Hepatic portal vein is a vein which start with the blood capillaries in the gut, and it ends in the. It start with the blood capillaries in the gut and ends with the blood capillaries in the liver. So the vein that starts with the blood capillary with the gut and ends with the blood capillaries in the liver is what named to be the hepatic portal vein, and such a system is the hepatic portal system. Generally, the liver have two sources of the blood we have seen. That is one from the hepatic artery, oxygenated blood, and the deoxygenated blood from different parts of the digestive tract. So here from different parts of the gut, that is from spleen, stomach, anterior mesenteric vein, posterior mesenteric vein, which is from the anterior part of the small intestine, and the duodenum, ileum, anterior part of the colon, and posterior mesenteric vein collect from posterior part of the intestine. So all these parts where the veins start with the blood capillaries and transport the blood to the liver, and where it ends with the blood capillaries. That is what it is named to be the hepatic portal vein, and such system is the hepatic portal system. And what is the function of this hepatic portal system? That is, what we eat all and what we drink is first checked in the liver, is we have discussed the first check post. However, the glucose which is excessively present, which we have taken, is to be converted into glycogen in the liver. That's the reason why it needs to be taken. And the metabolism results in the nitrogenous waste. The nitrogenous waste that are ammonia, once reached into the liver, by ornithine cycle it is converted to form urea. How does all this happen? It is by hepatic portal system pumping the blood into the liver. So it starts with the blood capillary in the gut and ends with the blood capillary in the liver. That's what hepatic portal system. And this is how the nitrogenous waste, including ammonia, when reaches the deamination. However, the metabolites once reach into the liver, where the deamination results in the ammonia, then it is involved in the ornithine cycle and synthesizes the urea. So this is the advantage with that of the hepatic portal system. Besides that, the excess of food, glucose, is taken to the liver, where it is converted to form glycogen and it is stored. This is how the hepatic portal system is the second system. The third system is the hypophyseal circulation. Hypophyseal circulation is one of the circulation. In fact, it is discussed that in the hypothalamus, there present the nucleus, that is neurosecretory cells are present in the hypothalamus. Neurosecretory cells are present, that is synthesizes the hormones. These hormones are what transported into these hormones synthesized in the hypothalamus are what brought into the anterior part of the pituitary gland, anterior part of the pituitary gland, where hypophyseal circulation, that is hypothalamus, the satiety center, thermostat of the body, which maintain the temperature, at which the neurosecretory cells are present, which release the hormones. Basically, the somatostatin and the somatotropin, that is growth hormone, stimulating hormone, growth hormone, inhibiting hormones, are synthesized in the hypothalamus. These hormones, through a circulation, name it to be the hypophyseal circulation, it is reached into the anterior part of the pituitary. You may raise a doubt, why hypophyseal, why not somewhere else, some other term? Pituitary refers to hypophysis. That's what it is, hypophyseal circulation. From pituitary, the growth hormone, anterior part of growth hormone is released, whose increasing or else whose stimulation or inhibition done by means of the two hormones, name it to be the somatostatin and somatocrinin. That is growth hormone, stimulating hormone, growth hormone, releasing hormone, it is also named to be the GHRH, growth hormone releasing hormone. Whereas growth hormone, inhibitory hormone, which are synthesized in the hypothalamus and are brought into the pituitary anterior part, thereby the growth hormones levels are regulated. This is how pituitary is, however, it is a master gland, but its functions are also regulated by hypothalamus. Such hypothalamus, hence it is named to be the master gland controlling center. So this is hypophyseal circulation, hepatic portal circulation, coronary circulation. Thank you.